Hey, Zets here. Today I'll show you how you can set up Tailscale with a custom domain and HTTPS on TrueNAS Scale 25.04. So let's go ahead. We'll log into TrueNAS first, then go over to System, General Settings, GUI Settings, and then we'll want to change the HTTP port and the HTTPS port for the web interface from 80 and 443 to something else that is ideally unoccupied. So in my case, I'm going to be using 82 for HTTP and 444 for HTTPS. So save that, confirm, continue, and now we are back on port 82. So next one is going to be datasets. Ideally, you're going to be using an SSD pool for this, since Nginx-Proxy-Manager is quite slow if you're using an HDD. However, you can, of course, also use an HDD. Either way, let's make a new dataset. I'm going to call this apps2, leave the preset on generic, and then we'll add another 3, which is going to be Tailscale, Dockge, and finally Nginx-Proxy-Manager, which I'm going to shorten to npm. Now, edit the permissions for npm. For the user, we are going to change this to apps, apply user, and change the group to apps as well. Apply the group, then we can remove read and execute for other, and save that. The next one is kind of optional, but it's also really nice to keep your files organized. So head on over to System, Shell, and then we'll type sudo mkdir mount, then your pool name, which is going to be bold for me, apps2, Dockge, and stacks. It's going to ask for your admin password. You can copy paste this using shift insert. Then we'll do the same for data. And if we now do ls for the Dockge dataset, we should be seeing data and stacks. Cool. So let's head on over to apps. We'll discover apps, type Dockge, and install it. I have to change this to Dockge 2 and modify the port so it doesn't collide with my already existing Dockge installation. However, you can leave this on default. What we want to change though is the stack storage. So change this from IX volume to host path, then drop down in here and select the stacks directory that we created earlier. Then we'll do the same for the data storage, Dockge again, and data. So you should end up with stacks here and data here. As you can see, it's also written Dockge data storage and Dockge stack storage. Then hit install, and we should be seeing TrueNAS pulling down the image. It's now deploying, and we are up and running. So we can go to the web interface, and we're greeted with the sign up page. I'm just going to call my user Zets, put in a password, and create the user. Cool. On the left side, you can see some of the containers that are already running on my system, which is going to be Pi-hole and Unbound. The IX Dockge containers, Crafty, and Backrest. Crafty is quite nice for Minecraft servers, but that's not really the point of the video right now. Either way, hit compose, then remove this, and we'll pull up our Docker compose. I'll probably put that in a link under the video. So this is going to run npm and the accompanying Tailscale client. The Tailscale client is using Nginx-Proxy-Manager as its network. You can also run Tailscale and Nginx-Proxy-Manager through the apps catalog, but the downside to that is that you don't get the Tailscale IP of the client connecting to your application. So, for example, if you are using Crafty and you're connecting as a user to the Minecraft server, it's only going to show the Docker internal IP of the Tailscale client and not the Tailscale IP that the external user has. Anyways, just a small bit at the side. We'll next copy the .env, and we can put this here. You can see the TS host state, that is the path where the host state is going to be saved. So I'll add mount, bold, apps2, and then the rest should be the same. So Tailscale client npm, because I like to give the directory a name for the individual client, and then varlib. So we'll next up need a Tailscale auth key, of course. So head on over to Tailscale. If you don't have an account yet, create one. We'll go to settings, keys, and then generate a new auth key. Copy this one. We are not going to be able to see this again. Then go back to Dockge and copy it in here. Then you should also include networks. This with the brackets. We can also modify this a bit further, but I'll probably explain that in another video. So let's give this a name, Nginx-Proxy-Manager, and of course also change the volumes for Nginx-Proxy-Manager. So mount apps2 npm, oops, I forgot the pool name. And then we'll put that here as well. This is going to be saving the npm data and the Let's Encrypt certificates. Good, as far as I can tell, we should be all set now. So save that, and then we can start the stack. Let's see. Okay, now that npm has started, we can head on over to the web interface at port 81. The default login should be admin@example.com. The password should be change me. I don't misspell that. Sign in. And now we can change the email to something we like. And save that. Fill in the change me for current password, set a new password. And then we are all set with Nginx-Proxy-Manager, at least the installation. So next up, we want to create SSL certificates. So go to the tab, add SSL certificate, let's encrypt, and we'll have to put our domain name. This will be wildcard dot, and then the domain name you've got, which is going to be bitwhisper.xyz in my case. And use a DNS challenge. The email might not be used in the future. I'm not sure when Nginx-Proxy-Manager is going to reflect the change that Let's Encrypt has made. Either way, select use a DNS challenge. Select your provider, which is going to be Porkbun in this case. And you'll see that we need a key and a secret API key. So head on over to Porkbun. And we should be seeing the domain management now. Go to details. And then we'll want to enable API access for this domain. So now go to account, API access, and create a new API key. I'm going to call this guide. And now we've got the API key and secret key. Copy that. Replace it. Do the same for the secret key. Now we'll have to accept the Let's Encrypt terms of service. Now we should be able to set and go. This might take a few minutes. For me, it took about 10 to 12 minutes to actually also validate the Let's Encrypt certificate and have it not show up as expired. So I'll get back to you in a second. If you see the timeout error, just cancel, refresh the site, and then you should be able to see the SSL certificate. You'll just have to wait for 10 minutes or so for the certificate to go from expired to valid. In the meantime, we can go over to Porkbun, then over to Domain Management, Details, and then we'll want to set a DNS record. The type is going to be A, and the host is going to be wildcard. This is basically going to tell your PC or the requester in general that any subdomain is going to get this answer, which is going to be the Tailscale IP of our Nginx-Proxy-Manager Tailscale client. Whilst we're at it, we might also disable the key expiry, so you don't have to do that every 180 days, I think. So let's go over to Porkbun again, paste the IP, and then add it. This can take around 10 to 20 minutes to propagate, so just beware if the website doesn't immediately resolve. So close that, and go over to Nginx-Proxy-Manager, and wait for the remaining 12-ish minutes.
One eternity later.
Alright, it's been about 12 minutes, so let's see if we refresh the site, if anything has changed. Yep, it's now valid until 15 September 2025. Next, go to Hosts, Proxy Hosts, add Proxy Host, and then we'll type nas.bitwhisper.xyz, add that. The scheme is going to be HTTP, and then we'll use the IP of our TrueNAS host. So 192.168.2.58 in my case, and then the TrueNAS web interface port for HTTP, which is of course 82 like we've set it before. Then enable WebSockets support, go to SSL, select the BitWhisper or SSL certificate that we created earlier. It's going to be different for you, of course. Force SSL, save that. We should now be able to head on over to our newly created website. Perfect. If this does not resolve at the moment, just keep in mind that the DNS might take a moment. Either way, I hope this has helped you and you got it set up, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.